Welcome to the Cinderella podcast, where we watch and review every Cinderella adaptation we can get our hands on, discussing the same story over and over until we slowly go insane. I'm Liv.
And I'm Talon. And today we watched, oh boy, here we go. Assepoester and Modern Sprookje, which is Dutch and was made in 2014 and means Cinderella, a modern fairy tale. But we're going to go ahead and call this the Horse-Girl Cinderella because this is the one in which Cinderella is fully a horse girl. And the prince is also a horse boy.
This is a horse-themed Cinderella that I did not know that I wanted. This is everything I did not know that I wanted.
Sure, there's romance between the prince and Cinderella.
But it's the love of horses that really carries this movie.
It really is.
This is a Cinderella about how much horses are awesome. And I loved every second of it.
So, we do need to warn you, dear listeners, that we had subtitles for about 95% of this film, but the last 5% or so, we did not have subtitles, and we will be doing our best.
It was pretty clear what was happening. However, yeah, the individual lines, I mean, neither of us speak Dutch, so we did our best. So, Talon, we've already talked about this, but what's the premise of this Cinderella? What makes this different?
So the Cinderella is modern, but still maintains pretty much all of the like Cinderella beats. So it's not like a wild departure from the fairy tale, which I don't know if that's a good thing, honestly.
I I liked it. I thought it was Cinderella is one of those stories that's kind of hard to modernize because it is sort of old world. And I thought they did a really good job of bringing it forward.
I was on board for the first half, and then it lost me in the second half.
I'm
Once
really
she got
curious where you're putting the half mark.
Okay, so right when she got to the ball is basically when I was like, "Oh, this is weird. This is getting weird." Because it wasn't stylistic enough, I think, at the beginning to pull off some of the things that it decided to go with at the end.
Okay. So we open on Cinderella, and every time we open on Cinderella in the morning, we have the same shot. And it's her in bed, and her alarm clock goes off, and it's 7 in the morning, and she turns it off, and she looks at her bedside table, which has pictures of her and her mom, and her and her dad, and her whole family together. And it's very lovely, and it very much sets a scene of loss, of sort of her feeling isolated, her feeling alone. It it really sets the mood. I liked it.
She also smiles every time she looks at the pictures.
She does. It's really sweet. I have in my notes that she looks sort of like Anna Kendrick. Do you have a better description of her?
I thought she looked like what's the name of the actress that played Hermione? Emma Watson?
Emma Watson? A little. Okay, so she looks like Emma Watson and Hermione Granger, and not Hermione Granger, Anna Kendrick.
Yeah, something in between that.
Yeah, she has long brown hair that's kind of wavy and kept back in a loose braid, and she has very, very delicate, fine features. She's very pretty.
Mhm.
Um, and right away, we get the exposition that she works on a farm. It's a place where people stable their horses and go for riding. I don't know what they're called because I'm not rich, but it's like a rich people thing where they go to ride horses, and it's like a country club, but for horses. I don't.
I was just gonna stay quiet and watch where you were going with that.
Yeah. So she's mucking out the stables, and we hear two women expositing about, oh, did you hear the guy that owned this? He married this woman, and then like a year later, he died, and now this poor woman is stuck with this whole other daughter and all these horses, and isn't it sad? And at this point, they give us Cinderella's name. She actually has a name in this one. Her name is Anna. I loved that she had a name.
It was very nice. It was one of those little touches that made it feel like it was actually grounded in the real world.
Yes. And Anna interrupts them and says, "Ladies, excuse me, you can't smoke here. It's fire hazard because there's all this hay and stuff." And they sort of laugh at her and wave her off and wander away.
So the two fancy mean ladies also bring up the evil stepsisters, of which there are three this time,
Yes.
and they're blondes number one, two, and three. They have real names. I think it's Jenny, Petty,
Debbie.
and Debbie. It doesn't
Um,
matter. Their character traits are thus: one of them has a big butt and she farts. And
yes.
her butt is always slightly too big for whatever it is she's putting on in that scene. And that's the joke. That's her personality. The other one is super into Britney Spears and has like kind of like she wants things to be shorter.
Yes.
She
So,
like when it comes to her outfit, I mean,
yeah.
she's got kind of like a punk rock vibe.
Is that the one with short hair?
No, that's the one with the long hair and the lips.
Oh, one of them is made entirely out of lips, by the way, guys. They all
That's
have,
this one.
yeah, they have, I wouldn't say they're ugly, but they all have very bizarre facial structure
They
where
all
they
look
just,
like they've gotten a lot of fillers.
yeah, I was like, they have so much bone structure. There's just massive chins and no, that's work done. Okay. Is
Yes.
that what we're going for?
Yes.
They look strange.
And then the third one, I don't know what her deal is. She has short, choppy hair and she likes to smoke.
Yeah.
And she
That's,
doesn't get like a an exaggerated body part or a character trait slash interest.
well, she does light her hair on fire while trying to straighten it.
That's not.
I think she's a pyro.
No, she's not.
She's not. Guys, we're trying really hard to put personality onto these three nameless characters,
It
but
doesn't matter. They all appear at the same time and
it
they're
will
all
never,
blonde.
yeah, none of them ever does anything that matters as distinct from a different one doing something. So they are, for all intents and purposes, they're three kobolds in a trench coat. They're just they're the same being.
So Anna is feeding the horses, and it's very clear that she loves them. She's being very affectionate with them. We get this very soft, lovely music. And there's one that she calls beautiful, and this is Isadora. And this is like her horse that she absolutely loves. And we find out later that this is the horse that's getting a little older and needs a little more caring.
Yes. So as she leaves the stable, there's a gathering of rich, fancy horse people that are just cackling, and one of them, who we find out is a baroness, tells Anna to make her a cappuccino and also a cognac. And they're doing the rich Karen brunch thing where they just ask the service people for unreasonable stuff and then just cackle maniacally at how funny it is that they are being mean.
I mean, they're also at a stable, and what Anna does is brings out a horse because they're there for like a riding lesson, and
Yeah.
they wave her away, and basically she gets yelled at for bringing the horse.
Yeah, that was weird. So at one point, the stepsisters come in and they have all of their riding tack and they're going to put it away or something. But the stepmother calls from off screen and shrieks that they're going to go shopping. And they all just drop their saddle and tack and just bolt. And Anna rolls her eyes and goes and picks up all the stuff and puts it away. And then we get what I thought was a really great montage of the stepmother and stepsisters shopping, interspersed with shots of Anna doing all the chores, just cleaning trash out of their beds, mucking the stables, washing the bathtub, organizing everything. Just it was a
She's
really good montage.
she's doing actual chores too. She's not just like doing like fairy tale chores. You see her like picking like food wrappers out of their beds and like picking dirty socks off the
Super
floor.
super
And these
gross.
are like actual things that like a person would have to do if
Yeah.
the other people that they're living with aren't doing it themselves.
one of the things we see her do repeatedly is scrub the bathtub. I don't know why that's a chore that they highlight so strongly, but they do. But also, I lived on a farm that boarded horses for a while. Stable work is exhausting and never ending. It, it's a lot of physical labor, even if you really love horses.
And I've worked as a housekeeper and a nanny for some really terrible rich people.
Hmm.
So I've done all the cleaning up after somebody bit. And that's terrible too.
Yeah. So this movie did a really great job with realistic, terrible Cinderella energy. I believed it 100%.
So during this montage, the one blonde pulls up some pants and we get like a close up of her butt and it's big. And then the other blonde is like wearing this like crop top and she's smushing her boobs in it and asks, "Do you have this any shorter?" And then the third blonde is trying on shoes and during this falls over and I don't know what personality trait that's supposed to signify.
Helpless, maybe? They're all troublesome, they all get into trouble and are, um, bad people, but they're also all extremely helpless.
And this is one of the ones where the stepmother adores her daughters
Mhm.
and coos over them and is basically like, "My sweet little muffin, what can I get you?" And then hollers for Anna.
Just screeches, and they I don't know if it was the subs, but they hurl all sorts of verbal abuse at Anna. It is disturbing how much just verbal abuse they give her.
She gets called everything from a worm and useless to like actual curse words that we don't say on this
Yes,
show. I was surprised. They went hard.
they did. So they come home from their shopping montage with tons and tons of bags, and no exaggeration, just throw it all on the ground on their foyer, just toss all the bags onto the ground. And it's a mountain of bags. So they toss all their stuff onto the floor and start screaming for Anna to come clean it up because their show is starting and they're gonna miss it.
And they're
And
also knackered. They're so tired from their day of shopping. And that line is like very effective because of the way they've interspersed what Anna's been doing at the same time.
yeah, she puts away all their stuff, organizes their shoes, and they sort of cackle and watch their show. She cleans up everything and then goes to say goodnight to her horses and lies in bed and resets the alarm. And we get the same morning scene when she wakes up again.
And at this point, we find out that Isadora the horse is sick.
Yes, the vet, we find out that he's a vet later, but he's explaining to the stepmother that Isadora needs to have this medicine every morning and night. And the stepmother is like, I can't remember that. Who cares? I can't, blah, 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 blah. And she basically says, well, just tell Anna to do it. She handles all the stuff. And the vet goes, Anna does everything around here. And that the fancy horse needs rest and the stepmother just sort of flounces off. So,
So the vet, his name is Chris. He's a little bit older than Anna, I think, but not as old as the stepmother, Patricia.
yeah,
And he's like this black guy and he's wearing a flat cap and he's so nice.
he's so nice.
My problem with this movie is every time they introduced a male character, I was like, "Oh, she should get together with this guy."
Because they're so nice. There's a couple of male characters in here that I'm just absolutely rooting for because they're lovely people. So,
So he was one of them and
yeah,
I don't know what he was trying to tell any of this to Patricia, but he explains the same thing. So he explains the same thing to Anna that he did to Patricia, and he's explaining that the horse needs to be basically resting for a few more weeks. She's an old lady; she can't really be used as a training horse anymore. And
ooh,
he's asking Anna, why are you letting people ride her still? Why haven't you told Patricia that people can't ride her right now?
oof.
And it's because Patricia thinks that horses that no longer work go to the hackers. Is
The
that
the
what
na-
they say?
It's the knackerman. It's a slang for the animal butcher. It's where you send animals to be butchered when they're too old.
So Anna explains to Chris the vet that if she tells Patricia that Isadora the horse is too old for this, then that's it. Her horse is going to be sent away. And this
Yeah.
horse is her only family. And if she was no longer here, Anna doesn't know what she would do.
It's so emotional. That I spent a good part of this movie just panicking about this horse. Just gonna relieve everybody's worries. The horse is fine. All the horses are fine. This movie does that delightful thing where they build up stakes, but then don't deliberately stab you in the heart just for fun. They give you stakes and they make it matter, but then they don't just punish you for having feelings. And I appreciated that because I was really, 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 really worried about this horse for the entire movie.
I was so worried about the horse. I was
Oh
like, I
man.
can't, like, if
I'm
this
not
horse dies, I'm not going to be okay.
I'm
So
not gonna be having fun. Yeah.
the horse is fine. All of the horses are fine. Even when it seems like a horse might not be fine, the horse will be fine.
Yeah, we promise, because we were really stressed about it. So the next scene is the stepmother. Anna's leaving the stables, walking towards the house, and the stepmother literally shoves her into the bushes to go greet someone fancy and ask if she can help him. We find out this at the end, but his name is Ahmed, and he is, I didn't ever catch his official role, but he's the prince's stable master or friend or lackey or something.
He seems to be some sort of combination best friend and like servant because
Yeah,
he like does a lot of like servanty things, but they also,
very clearly have a friendship.
which I didn't love.
So Ahmed's looking for a place to stable some of his younger horses, and he's also looking for a place to have his horse saddle broken. And he says that some friends were saying that they got their horse's saddle broken here and they just raved about it. And the stepmother's absolutely just sucking up to him, just saying, "Oh, how lovely for you to be thinking of us and these compliments." No,
So the specific line that she says, "Thank you for complimenting us. So complimentary."
yeah, she's really just, it's great.
She's trying very hard.
He also asks her how much of the actual horse work she does. And she's just like, "Oh, I do all of it. I mean, and my daughters do as well. We're so into horses."
She says that she always tries to think from the horse's perspective and then goes to introduce him to her daughters. Meanwhile, Anna's sort of just rolling her eyes at the parts that she overhears. And Ahmed sees her in the distance and is like, "Oh, is that one
A
of your
dau
daughters?" And Patricia goes, "No, that's just a stable boy, or should I say stable girl?"
They all
And
think this is hysterically funny and just snort, cackle themselves sick.
yes,
Uh, it was weird. So he leaves, and the stepmother and the girls all talk about how handsome he is, and she
they call him
calls
charming,
they do. I
and
thought he was the
I
prince.
thought that this was going to be the prince.
Me too. I thought this was gonna be the prince.
And I was like, okay, I guess
Okay,
this is the prince.
sure.
Because at first I thought the vet was going to be the prince. I didn't know how literal they were going to be with Cinderella.
No, me neither. So I thought this was the prince character for a while. And so the stepmother and the sisters are talking about how handsome he is. The stepmother calls her girls her little heffalumps. And then she calls Anna a toad and asks why she hasn't made dinner yet. Ahmed goes to, it's a mailbox or something, and it has a nameplate, but it's newer. And he sort of peels it up and sees that this place used to be Paolo and mm,
Anna.
Anna, their farm. That this was originally her and her dad's place. And then he sort of puts the fake name or the newer name tag back
He
on.
smiles like mysteriously and handsomely
Yes,
and then puts it back. And this is relevant later,
but
but
we don't know
it's a
why.
weird moment.
At the moment, we're just like, why is this okay, sure, whatever. So we cut to the evening, and Anna is in the stable again talking with her horse and also her dead mother. She can see her mom's ghost.
And the ghost isn't like ghostly looking, like she's just a fully 3D lady.
Yeah.
And every time she appears, we sort of hear her off screen first, and then we kind of the camera turns and then she's there. But we don't like see her pop in, and we
No.
kind of see her disappear into shadows once. But basically, we don't really get any visual cues that this is a ghost.
No, we're just told that this is a ghost.
She's also wearing like a very like Jackie Onassis outfit.
Yeah, it's pink and it's sort of got a high waist and buttons and a short sleeve, and her hair is in this little blonde bob with bangs and stuff. It's definitely meant to look older, so like an older fashion, to
It's
sort of
just a weird ghost choice.
emphasize that she's died and has been dead for a while. I guess that's what I got from it. So her mom is counseling her to leave this place, saying, hey, you need to escape, you need to flee, you can't just continue to live like this. And Anna's response is very reasonable. And she goes, I have no money and no education. Where am I supposed to go? Which is reasonable. That's a reasonable concern.
And at this point, her mom was like, well, what's your plan then? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay here forever? And Anna says, I don't know. I really don't know. And then they address the question of why Anna can see her mother, but never sees her father.
Oh, yeah.
And Anna's mom's ghost
Mhm.
says, I think I know why. It's because the father doesn't want to be seen because he feels guilty that he left her like this and that she's inherited such a mess.
Yep.
And she lectures Anna about how regret is stupid and she doesn't want her daughter to be regretful.
Mhm.
And she says, let's go to bed now. Who knows? Maybe a miracle will happen tomorrow. The miracle that happens tomorrow is that Anna wakes up and she looks through the door, and her sister, one of her stepsisters, is doing like the dance and song by Britney Spears, the Toxic one.
Mhm.
And she's wearing the outfit, the blue airline stewardess outfit that Britney Spears wears in the music video.
Oh, okay. My notes are just like bad, weird little blue outfit. I'm confused.
Yes. So
Okay,
that's what
good.
that's from. It's very iconic. And she's like singing, presumably badly, but the audio
Is
disappeared because of copyright at
I
that
as
point.
I assume so. We get a couple of times where the sound just completely cuts out, and copyright is the only thing that makes any sense. So,
We struggled a little bit with this one.
yeah, we had a little bit of trouble, but it doesn't matter. It was fine.
So she's basically making just a complete fool out of herself, like singing like nobody's watching her, dancing like nobody's watching her. And Anna kind of laughs to herself. And I think we're supposed to think that that's the miracle, is that her day has been cheered up by this bananas interaction.
Oh, I didn't think that had anything to do with the miracle. I thought that was just a thing that happened. So, we get breakfast the next morning, and the stepsisters are arguing about how much noise the Britney Spears one makes, and then they get an invitation to a New Year's ball, and it's the royal family, and they're throwing a New Year's ball, and the girls freak out and they go, "Oh, we have to go to the gym, we have to go to the salon," and they drop the invitation and run away. And Anna picks it up and reads it, and the invitation specifically includes Anna
By name.
by name. And at this point, the stepmother slinks back into the room. We haven't described the stepmother. She's got really big hair.
Got really big boobs.
She's got really big boobs. She's got a very over exaggerated mouth. So she does everything with these crazy dramatic lip gestures. I don't know how else to describe it.
She reminded me a lot of the stepmother from the Hilary Duff Cinderella,
I guess.
like a Dutch version.
Yeah, she's older. She's more statuesque. She has massive hair. Very just a strong Karen energy. She's Karen. So
She's that particular type of just rich lady who has so much time to just be a
awful,
terrible person.
awful. So she slinks back in and asks Anna, You aren't really taking that seriously, are you? You can't go. What would you even wear? Clogs on your feet?" And just sort of cackles and then leaves.
But Anna's still holding the invitation, and the way she's looking at it and the way she's smiling really sets up the idea that yes, she loves horses, but she might also like a ball.
Yeah. So we cut to the stepsisters watching the news, and they're watching a soccer something.
They're two hockey girls being interviewed about the ball,
Okay.
and they're just like they're these two jock girls, and they're very excited that they might dance with the prince.
Yeah, and the stepsisters are making fun of them, and the news is talking about how a whole bunch of different young ladies have been invited, and that this is because the prince wants to marry, or that somebody
The
wants the prince to
king
get
and
married.
queen are looking for a bride for their youngest son.
Yes.
And they're saying how it's nice that they want him to marry, but he's gotta also want to marry,
Hmm.
and maybe he does want to marry.
Yeah.
And then they show a picture of the prince, and there's twinkly music, and then
Hmm.
they say on the news there, you see him with his beloved horses. He prefers to stay out of the spotlight, and we get more like dreamy twinkly music, and
Hmm.
Anna standing in the doorway, kind of watching the TV.
So because we're watching this on a TV, I was at this point I was confused about whether this was the same person that had visited the farm, because I was like, well, they don't look super the same, but they're also wearing very different outfits. I don't know if those are the same person or not. I'm really confused. It's not the same person.
I mean, I'd read the Wikipedia and I knew that there was an actual prince, but I
Okay.
just
So the prince's name is Ludovic, and he's 33.
oh,
And
I didn't get how old he was.
yeah.
How
And
old do
then
we think Anna is?
I don't know. It seems like she's definitely older than 18.
I got the sense that she's only slightly older than 18,
I got the
right?
sense that the girls are all sort of in their early 20s.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So Anna wakes up the next morning and is taking care of her horses and doing laundry. And we just get another scene of her just doing all the chores. And she's made a really lovely dinner because it's Christmas. My notes at this point go, damn it, I got Whamageddon because they're playing the Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart song. It's like, damn it. No.
So she's wearing like a nice dress and she's lighting the candles on the table. And you get the sense that she's like really proud of what she's done and she wasn't just doing it because they told her to make dinner.
Yeah, like pretty wine glasses and a tablecloth, and she's made a lovely dinner and she set the table lovely. And she goes to the living room where at the rest of the family is and says, "Dinner's ready." And they glare at her and they yell like, "We are so tired. How could you even think that we would come to the table? Bring us plates and bring a bucket for Petty."
Who burps?
I thought she might have been sick.
They say later that she's throwing up.
They also say later that is she the one that's on a beer diet? Yes, because she's the fat one. She's got the big butt. She's on a
Yeah.
beer diet where she drinks nothing but beer. So in theory, she doesn't eat any food. She just has beer. So Anna sort of rolls her eyes and goes out to the stables to wish her horse Merry Christmas. And Mom Ghost shows up and says,
She says, Merry Christmas to you, my darling, because you'll get nothing from them inside.
and then they talk about what lovely Christmases they used to have, and they have a really, really lovely flashback montage of her as a little girl opening presents with her mom and dad.
They're all
Re-
wearing like sweaters and they do like those popping cracker things, and
Yeah.
it's very, very
Oh,
sweet.
it's very sweet. It's really cute. So at this point, Ghost Mom says, "So, what are you wearing, like, to the party?" And Anna responds with, I'm not going. I don't have a dress. I have to take care of my horse." And then the stepmother shows up to yell at her, and Ghost Mom just sort of walks away.
She walks towards the back and kind of like slips behind something, but also like literally disappears in the shadow.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing, and this is where we get the sort of this is a ghost because the stepmother does not see her or interact with her at all kind of scene.
Yeah.
Um, which if you're gonna do a ghost, the best way is to have people just not interact with you.
I I like the ghost bit. I think it's interesting and clever. I'm not sure if it works,
I
but
don't know
it's
what
fine.
I don't know why she needed to leave because the stepmother was coming. That part was a little strange, but whatever.
So the stepmother shows up and just starts yelling at Anna about how Petty is vomiting and you're sitting here on a stool. And then she accuses her of being antisocial at Christmas. And then the alarm goes off again.
Yeah, and we open in the same morning shot again, and it just sets up it sets up such a good mood of just this is her day to day. She's trapped here. This is her daily grind, and the fact that we open on essentially the exact same scene every morning is it does the movie equivalent of when you read the Odyssey and it opens with the same line every book. It's just I really liked it. I thought it was really, really well done. So then we go to the stables, and the stepmother is ordering Anna to saddle up your old stupid old horse, and Anna pushes back and she goes, "No, she needs 4 more weeks of rest. She's getting old. You can't ride her." And the stepmother says, "No, do it anyway." And Anna again goes, "No, she's my horse." At which point the stepmother goes, "Your horse? Who pays for her? Who pays for her food and her keep and the vet?" And I thought that that was going to be the end of it. But Anna pushes back again and she goes, "I do. I pay for it by working here all day and all night." And the stepmother responds with, "No, that's what you do for your own upkeep, for your own food and your own toothbrush." Toothbrush was a weird line to include there.
She pushes back again and she says that's not fair.
Okay. I was typing too fast. I missed that part. And so then the stepmother goes, "If you don't saddle up your horse, I'm going to call the butcher, the abattoir."
She says, you know what happens to horses that are old and crippled and can't work anymore.
It's it's so at this point our chat took a dark turn and we were just like nothing better happened to this horse.
And again, like nothing happens to the horse.
The horse is fine. Nobody get panicked. We were panicking, but it turned out okay.
So she saddles her up, and Anna's telling her, calmly, girl, warm up calm, and hope to God you don't do your ankle in.
God. And so the fat grumpy baroness is going to be the one riding her and she is fat and she puts her foot in the stirrup and Anna has to shove her butt to help her get up. And Anna clearly wants to stay and sort of watch for her horse in case something goes wrong so she can go. But the stepsisters scream for her because the dress split, even though she's been sticking to her diet of literally nothing but beer.
Beer in the morning, in the
Mm,
evening, and at night.
it's, yeah. So Anna says, "Okay, I can fix your dress. I can cut some fabric off the bottom and sew it onto the back." And is told to go and get her cheese puffs and ham.
Mm.
So I think Chubby Sister might be pregnant because I don't know.
Well, well, the cheese puffs are what the stepmother says. She's like, go get her some cheese puffs because the stepsister complains about not feeling well and that she
Yeah,
needs to eat something. And then after Anna leaves to go get it, the stepsister yells, and ham.
it's a weird scene. So the other girl is waxing her lip and has is having some sort of allergic reaction or something because her lips are extra weird now. And just in general, they're just sobbing and being dramatic. The fire alarm goes off.
So Anna brings her like cold peas or something to press on her face.
Yeah.
And then she can't stay there because, yeah, the fire alarm goes off. And the last stepsister has flat ironed a chunk of her hair off. To
And
which her mother responds with, it'll be all right, flower.
Anna offers to help trim her hair so that it doesn't look like she's burned off part of it. And then the Baroness comes back with the horse, demanding a different one, saying that this one is just hobbling along, even with a whip. Oh, and the horse is fine. The horse can still walk. She's favoring. Oh, she's definitely limping, but she's not. She didn't break a leg.
Mm-hmm.
So We all breathed a collective sigh of relief.
And Anna tells her, "Come on, dear, you don't have to do anymore,"
Mhm.
which just broke my heart.
Oh, right? This movie had some strong emotions attached to it. Chris comes back, the vet comes back to look at the horse, and he says, "You know, it's not good. She has tendinitis, she has a fever, and she's in pain. I can give you the stuff to give her twice a day, once at noon and once at midnight." And then he sort of turns to Anna and kind of aggressively goes, "Why did you let her ride the horse?" And Annis did a lot of speaking, and my subtitles just went, "That horrible woman." So I don't know what exactly was said. I assume that it was something to the effect of, "I had to, or she was literally going to kill my horse."
Yes.
And she thanks him for coming out so late, and the vet says, "Anything for you." And then sort of talks to her about, "Hey, your horse is important to you, but also like yourself should be important to you. Your life sucks here, you know."
And he tells her your father wouldn't want this,
Oh
and
yeah.
that he'll be back in a few days to check on Isadora the horse. I always found it very reassuring when Chris the vet would say he'd be back in a couple days,
Yeah.
because I really wanted Anna to have like a person checking in on her. Like, I know he's not there to check in on her, he's there to check in on the horses, but just knowing that a
But
person was gonna stop by every couple of days, like a normal, caring human person with
yep.
feelings,
Mhm.
that made me feel like a lot better.
So we cut to the next day. Stepmother is singing about the prince, and Anna has to go get something, and her bike is broken, so she has to take the stepmother's car.
Yes.
We don't see what she goes to get. She just drives and then comes back, and as soon as she arrives home, they're all screeching for her. She has to trim the short-haired one's hair and straighten
Who's
it.
smoking while this is happening?
She helps the big butt one put on shapewear. She's plucking the stepmother's chin hairs,
And she's
and
cutting a skirt shorter for the third sister, who
y-
asked for it to be even shorter.
then the noon bell rings, and she leaves to go give Isadora the noon injection. And then the stepsisters are all getting ready to go. They're leaving in a big fancy car, having a whole sort of la di da scene, and then they leave. And Anna goes down to the stables and brings her horse an apple and leaves it because the horse's appetite is kind of down. And so she sits to just sort of be with her horse. And Ghost Mom shows up and goes, "Don't you have somewhere to be?"
She goes, "Yoo-hoo, haven't you got somewhere to go?" The yoo-hoo really got me.
And then she says, "I'm your fairy godmother." And we see her now for the first time in this scene. And she's wearing this white, sparkly dress with poofy sleeves and a hat with a veil and stuff. And she's just draped across the horse long ways, not sitting astride the horse or sitting side saddle, but just draped long ways across the horse. And Anna goes, "Mom, get off the horse. You know she can't have any weight on her." And Mom goes, "I'm a ghost. I don't weigh anything."
And Anna tells her, "Mom, I'm not in the mood for this." But her mom gets really serious and tells
Hmm.
her, "I can't stand that you're missing out. And I really wish that you would, believe that life isn't just misery and woe and that there's good things." And Anna says, "Well, how are you going to solve my problems? You're just going to go abracadabra and I'm at the ball and life isn't a fairy tale." And her mom is like, "Sometimes it is. Sometimes there are
Oh,
really nice things in life."
yeah.
And she talks about her fairy tale moments, like when she met her father and their wedding day and the day Anna was born.
It's so sweet.
It
It's
was
so
very
sweet.
sweet. And she tells her, "For me, just go and do your hair up nice and see what life still has in store for you." And she promises to stay with the horse and that if anything happens, she'll get her. And as long as Anna is back by midnight, she'll be back in time to give her horse an injection. And she directs her to go to like the attic into a closet where there are secret dresses.
Yeah. So my note here is her dress is so pretty. So it's sleeveless, it's white, it's sparkly, it has sort of a corset top, and she's wearing a little black choker, and the skirt is long and big and poofy, but it's ruched up in the overskirt part, so it's got all these little gathers, and it's genuinely lovely. It looks sort of like a prom dress, but a really, really cool prom dress. And it fits
She's
her
also
nicely, and it looks good on her.
she's also wearing it with elbow length white gloves, and she found a matching pair of shoes.
Yes, and her hair is down now. It's been back into sort of a messy braid this whole time. It's now down and just sort of pinned back a little bit away from her face, and it's beautiful. She's got butt length hair. It's all wavy and glorious. She looked so pretty. I loved it. But what I love more than that is that she takes the car keys and drives herself to the party.
Well, so she still had the car keys from when they gave them to her to run the errand,
Yeah,
which is why that scene had to be there.
yeah.
And she drives this little like beetle car. It's like this
It's
brown color.
it's super cute. It's it's adorable. I love that she goes to the ball on her own.
It's really nice.
I really liked it. So she gets to the ball and she's greeted by Ahmed, who goes, Anna, oh, I was afraid you weren't going to come. At which point I was really confused about everything, but doesn't matter. She walks in on his arm and he gives her a drink. And there's a lot of people dancing. I assume that there's proprietary music going on because, again, we have absolute silence. She is smiling, but she's also hanging back from the dance floor. She is in no way causing a stir. No one's noticed her. She is not standing out as the most glorious person in the room. And she's also kind of uncomfortable.
Mhm.
She also hears her stepmother talking to the Baroness, and they're being mean about the horse.
Mhm.
And Ahmed finds her again and asks her if she would like a nightcap, but then takes her out onto the balcony and shows her a horse.
Yes.
And there's a horse just in a very small corral in the middle of a pasture. Why? Because we find out that this is Duncan, the son of Isadora, and that it is the prince's favorite. And also, evidently, Isadora is famous. So she goes to the horse right away because she's a horse girl. And she's just greeting him and saying, oh, how big and handsome you are. And then we see the prince for the first time, who just walks out of the shadow bushes and says, not as beautiful as you.
He's also wearing like all white, so it's very, very dramatic.
Yes. He goes, sorry, I'm just not good at parties and superficial conversations. And Anna goes, yeah, me too. And they smile and they talk about the horse.
They introduce themselves to each other. They
Yeah.
get each other's names. This is so
Yeah.
important to
Yeah. He goes,
me.
I'm Ludovic. And she goes, I'm Anna. It was great.
It was great. And while they're getting to know each other, there's these two guys outside and they're paparazzi. And they're like, oh man, Harry, get the camera. We got something good. And they're snapping photos of them.
Mhm. And the prince finds out that Anna raised Duncan for the first 3 years and that she says that she was just devastated when he was sold. And then she had been told that he'd been sold to a prince, but she always thought that was just a fairy tale, that was just told to comfort her. And Ludovic goes, no, he's happy, and it's not just because he lives at a palace, it's because I really love him. It's a really sweet scene.
Hmm.
We cut back to the party, and the stepsisters are whining about where the prince is because no one's seen him. He has not made an appearance at this party.
They're also whining because they're not playing any Britney Spears. And they decide that they're going to have a cigarette or fresh air. And these three dumb boys go outside with these three dumb girls.
Yes, and the paparazzi follow them as well.
Hmm.
So the stepsisters follow these douchey bros to the stables, and they have cigarettes, and one of the douchey boys falls asleep, and the cigarette drops from his fingers onto a pile of hay and catches fire.
Hmm.
At which point, our chat was plunged back into no, nothing
Let's
better
panic.
happened to these horses. Nothing happens. All the horses are fine.
So the barn is on fire. And then the prince and Anna are freaking out and they run towards it. as the stepsisters and the dumb boys are running away.
And the prince is just screaming at them like, "Who are you? Why are you in my stables?" and yells for Ahmed to call the fire department.
So Anna kicks her shoes off and she runs to help with the horses. And at this point, the scene keeps cutting back and forth between people just dancing
Oh,
at the ball
yeah.
and then the fire happening in the barn and back to the party. And then the fire in the barn.
It's
And
oh, it was made me so tense. Like, I was so
oh,
anxious.
and the prince and Anna are taking these horses one by one and very gently walking them out of the stable so that they don't panic. And they keep going back and forth. And meanwhile, at the party, Patricia is like looking for her daughters.
And she's annoyed, and the Baroness says, "Well, they're probably off just snogging somewhere."
Hmm.
And we're still just cutting back and forth to the fire, and my anxiety is just to the moon at this point. And so finally we're told that all the horses are out, and then we hear the bell toll midnight, and Anna goes, "I have to go," and just runs away. And then Ahmed comes up to the prince and goes, "Was I right?" And the prince goes, "Yes, you were right." And
And then fireworks,
and
and
then
her shoes are just there.
yeah. So Anna gets home in time to give her horse her injection, and she runs upstairs and puts her dress away,
I'm
and she
sure
hears
that dress smells like
pretty musty.
fire and horses.
I'm sure it does. She should probably wash it, but whatever. So she hears the stepsisters arriving home and realizes that her hair is down, and so sort of rapidly puts her hair back into a braid. And they come in and they're mad about the prince didn't make an appearance, and they scream, "Wake up!" That they're hungry. And so she makes them food, and they laugh, and she sort of just looks wistful and sad through the window.
And then we get the scene where she's doing her chores and there's music playing as she's doing her chores. But every once in a while, she kind of pauses and stares off dreamily. And then we see like a flash of the prince. And then she kind of shakes herself out of it and goes back to work.
Mhm,
So the next day, she's serving breakfast
mhm,
and the stepmother comes in with a newspaper
mhm.
and she's like, "Did you see this? During the ball, some guests have started a fire and the police have launched an investigation. And the three blonde stepsisters look very uncomfortable and very worried, but the stepmother has no idea."
No, none whatsoever. She goes, "I didn't even know that happened." And then we see they're watching the news later on the television, and the news is also talking about the fire, but also that the prince was spending time with this mystery woman, and they show the photos that the paparazzi have. It is too far away for Anna's face to be seen. And so the newscasters are saying, "We don't know anything about her, but you can tell by the prince's body language that he's interested in her and that they're clearly having a very intimate conversation." They also
They
say that they have pics of the group that started the fire, but the police have those tapes and they haven't been able to see them yet.
So the suspense there is building as well.
Yes.
My favorite comment that the step family makes about this girl is, "Who is she, wearing tardy clothes from the previous century?"
Yep. That was a great line. So Anna's sort of watching all this news on the periphery, and the sisters see her and says, "Why are you listening to us? Go do something useful." So Anna's outside working with the horses, and the Baroness and stepmother walk by, and they sort of do a laughing, "Why haven't you turned that old horse into dog food?" Laugh, laugh, laugh.
That's not
And
an exaggeration. That's literally like what they're doing.
that's generally, that's, yeah, no exaggeration. The news inside is still going on about this mystery woman and how the prince is heartbroken and is searching for her. And now they have the video of the party that started the
Perpetrators.
fire, the perpetrators, thank you. And they show it, and it's very clearly the stepsisters. You can see their faces, and they panic.
The
They're
stepmother is not in the room at this point.
Yeah, it's just the girls, and they're like, "Turn the TV off, take the batteries out of the remote," and they manage to get the batteries, turn the TV off, and then take the batteries out of the remote just in time. And the stepmother sort of comes running in, and the girls go, "Oh, the TV is broken again." Wah."
That means we can't watch Boulevard.
And Anna just sort of has watched this whole thing and just sort of rolls her eyes and walks away.
So the next day, there's a doorbell ringing,
Mhm.
and there's some police officers there to speak to the three daughters about the fire at the party. And the stepmother is standing at the door talking to the officers, and she's like, "Well, my daughters would never do that. And also, they're not here, and I don't know when they'll be back." And they're like, "Ma'am, are you aware what obstruction of justice is?" And they explain it to her, and she's like, "Well, it's very laughable that you think that my daughters would ever do that, and goodbye." And basically slams the door shut in their faces.
What she actually says is shame and slams the door. She then walks back into the kitchen and is just ranting about what a ridiculous concept that is to her daughters, who are looking very uncomfortable.
Well, so then a very fancy car pulls up,
Mhm.
and the prince and Ahmed get out of the car, and the stepmother goes, "Look who we have here." And this is
That's
where we lost
Yeah,
subtitles.
this is where the version that I found just ended, and we had to go find the last 10 minutes somewhere else, and the last 10 minutes didn't have subs. So,
It did have a lot of voiceovers, and this is kind of where some of the more bananas choices are made. And I would love an explanation, and I'm not going to get one, and neither
yeah.
are you.
So if anybody is listening to this who speaks Dutch and would like to watch this and tell us what happens in the last 10 minutes, like specifically, um, that'd be great. Um, I'm tempted to just go learn Dutch.
I mean, if
Anyways,
I could find the script, I'd run it through Google Translator, but I don't
right?
know how to search for the script in Dutch because, again, I don't speak Dutch.
Yeah. Also, I tried to get a translate app on my phone to be like, well, maybe I can just play it in real time into my phone, and my phone will just narrate, translate it. No, that doesn't work that way either.
Nope. So
So,
the
anyways,
notes get more abstract now. The mother curtsies weird and is like kind of genuflecting
she's
and
being
is
very obsequious. Uh,
making like her voice is like higher pitched and she sounds more annoying. And the prince
she's
seems unhappy, but the three stepsisters seem excited.
she's very clearly asking them why they're there. There's a question in her voice, and the prince and Ahmed are both there, and Ahmed holds out the shoes, and I think he's saying that these are the shoes the girl that I was talking with these are her shoes, and the girls get super excited and grab the shoes and try to put them on.
So the Wikipedia states that they've been going all around the country doing this. I don't know if I believe the Wikipedia
I don't know if I believe the Wikipedia either because
because they
uh,
both know her name and address.
yeah, so I don't think that's what happened. So
But but they did bring the shoes and they are letting the girls try them on, and we don't know if they're like the prince is looking for whoever fits these shoes because they don't say Anna's name.
they don't. But the stepsisters fail to try on the shoes, and the prince's expressions are very much, yeah, no, I'm not face blind. It's not you.
Well, the prince looks like deeply pained and like
Yes.
just over it. Meanwhile, Ahmed is like super into everything that's happening
Oh, he's
and he's
having a
having
good
a
time.
very good time.
So the stepmother also tries it on, and the girls are clearly making excuses about why it's not fitting. What those excuses are, we don't know, but they're very clearly excuse tone of voice.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure Ahmed asks if there are any other daughters or women because he says Fraulein.
Yes, and they start screaming for Anna, which I don't understand.
I wish I knew why.
Well, because I think the stepsister who's trying on the shoe last, there was a crack of some kind. Like there was a sound on the screen, like maybe she hurt herself or fell over or something, and they need
Well,
to.
if this was the one that fell over when she was putting on a shoe before,
Oh,
that
but
might be
it's.
what happened.
I don't think it is the same one though, because the short-haired one is the one that's trying it on last, and the one that fell over
Yes,
is the
that
long
was
one.
the short-haired one.
Yeah, so I have. Oh, that was the short-haired one that fell over in the beginning.
I believe so.
Something happens. They call for Anna in high-pitched, strident voices, and she comes down the stairs as the stepmother tries the shoe on unsuccessfully. Anna shows up from the top of the staircase and is happy. She's just wearing like jeans and a long sleeve shirt. And the prince clearly asks, who is that? And he's smiling at Anna. And the stepmother says something clearly derogatory, servant, stable boy, something. And he is just smiling at Anna, and he holds his hand out, clearly demanding the shoe from the stepmother, who angrily gives it to him.
He not just holds out his hand for it, he like waggles his fingers
It's
like in
great.
a faster motion
It's
when
great.
it doesn't happen fast enough.
And so Anna sits down on the stairs, and the prince kneels in front of her and puts the shoes on. Obviously, it fits.
He kneels in front of her. He
Oh,
slowly and gently takes her woolen sock off of her and then puts the shoe on her bare foot.
oh God, the Dutch are amazing.
It was just
So
so many things. They both smile at each other. Meanwhile, the stepsisters are yelling, like, no. And then he says something to her. And the next scene, it turns out that he
has
and
brought
Ahmed brought Duncan the horse with them.
yes. And they lead Duncan to where Isadora is in the corral, and there's a happy horse scene, and Anna's really happy, and the prince is all smiling. And then we look at the step family, and we're watching this from their point of view, and they're just confused and angry. And the prince kneels, and he's literally proposing to her. He gives her a ring, and she sort of smiles, and he puts it on her finger and steps up, and they kiss, and it's really cute. And the stepsisters are just screaming, and they're horrified. Ahmed is laughing his head off.
He then whistles and the police show up. And he
Yes.
introduces the girls to the police as Quick, Quack, and Quack,
I
which
missed
is
that
very
part.
funny to me.
And the police say something accusatory, and the stepmother again says, there's a clear negation, a clear no, my
Yes.
daughters were not involved in this. This is not, I will not have you. Some
And
serious care and energy.
as all of this is going down, Anna and the prince just ride off slowly on the horses, like one on each of the horses.
Yep.
And the scene continues, but they're just gone. They've
Yeah, they
peaced
just
out.
leave because they don't care. I love it. So the stepmothers and stepsisters get thrown into the police van. I like this as a comeuppance. I think this is an
Yes.
excellent comeuppance. The cops have a really hard time shoving the big butt stepsister in. They have to like both put their shoulders against her butt and shove her into the van because she's bracing herself really hard against the door. And that's genuinely funny.
Okay, pause for a second. I have to Google Translate something.
I'm just going to guess before you translate. I think it says 1 year later.
A few months later.
A few months later. Okay. So
A title card.
we get a title card that says
Een paar maanden later.
yeah, which turns out means a few months later. I was like, okay, so time has passed. Cool. I get the word later. And we get a voiceover from Anna. What's she
Telling
saying?
us what happened. We
Yep.
don't know what happened. I could pick out when she mentioned people by name, and
So
presumably something happened to them.
yeah, so they're happy, they're holding hands and they're kissing, and they're at the farm with the horses. A pretty white horse comes out of a trailer, so I guess they're getting a pretty white horse.
And then they say Isadora's name.
So
Isadora's something.
I assume fine. I'm choosing to believe that Isadora is better and just enjoying her twilight years and is happy and healthy with her son and will never be ridden again.
Okay.
I'm announcing that that's canon. She pulls out her mother's dress again. It's really clear
It's a different dress.
it's a different dress, but it's still her mother's. It's from
Yes.
the same closet. It's very clear that she owns the business now. It's her business again. It's her farm. And it turns out that they're getting married. And so they're riding in a carriage, and the wedding dress is very similar to the party dress. It's white and sleeveless, and it has a big poofy skirt and is very pretty and has a hat with a veil. And they're riding in an open carriage through the streets, and they ride past the stepsisters who are doing community service, picking up trash by the side of the road. I was dying. I was so happy about
It
that.
was beautiful. It
It
was
was
so nice.
it was great.
And
Fantastic comeuppance.
Anna and the prince are like waving at people, and they see the stepsisters, and they kind of have to like school their faces not to like laugh, and then they continue waving again.
So they arrive at the palace, and everybody's there waving on the balconies, just excited to see them.
And then the narration says something about Ahmed.
What is
I
it?
don't know what happened to Ahmed.
Nope.
Hopefully something nice.
Hopefully something good. And then we see on sort of a side balcony, her mom is there. Mom ghost is there, and she's wearing a different outfit now, and she's waving. And then ghost dad shows up.
Mhm.
And he sort of steps out and joins Ghost Mom, and they both wave at her and sort of hug each other. And her mom blows her a magic, glittery, magic ghost kiss. And
Yes.
then the last line, which is in Swedish, but I was still able to translate, was Mom was right. Sometimes life is a fairy tale.
Oh, that's so cute.
And it's so cute. And they are just walking up the steps.
Well, okay, so you say the people walking up the steps are Anna and the prince, and then Ahmed who like helps her with her train and then just follows them.
I
So
guess,
possibly they have also married Ahmed because he is also wearing white.
or I think maybe he's her bridesmaid or the best man. He's the best bridesman maid. I don't
Who
know.
could
Maybe he
say?
takes over the horse business. Maybe he
Maybe they run a horse business and now Ahmed is the new prince.
maybe literally who knows? We have no idea. But anyways, this Cinderella is over now, and my happy horse romance Cinderella is everything I never knew that I needed in life. So, highs and lows.
Oh wow, I gotta think about this. I really like the comeuppance. I really like I don't think the police should exist and I think that they're bad, but I loved seeing the stepsisters and the stepmother get arrested. I loved seeing them doing community service. I just thought that was wonderful.
Well, this is also the Netherlands, where
That's true. They can have
they have police, but their criminal justice system is just light years beyond ours. It is phenomenal. It's focuses on rehabilitation rather than punitive justice, and it's just great. So I was not mad about the police in this one because their police aren't murdery.
that's true.
I love the
Yeah.
comeuppance too. I thought that was great.
I really enjoyed that and I really liked that like Isadora the horse got to see her son Duncan.
Right?
And that Anna got to see Duncan.
Yes, because
She raised him.
yeah, and she was heartbroken when he was sold. I loved that.
Okay. So the part I hated was that they showed up with the shoes. I don't understand why they brought the shoes.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because like I got thematically her leaving behind her shoes because she was like saving horses in a barn.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense. Best reason to leave a shoe.
But I don't understand why they still did the shoe trying on thing when they had updated so many other elements.
Yeah, that was a weird choice. That was hard to explain away.
Yeah, I hated that. What
Yeah.
about you? What are your highs and lows?
I think my high, and this is going to be weird, but I think it is all the tension with Isadora because they really built stakes that I really cared about, but they weren't nothing stakes. They weren't just, oh, well, let's just have some stakes. They were real, and I I love that they didn't do the American thing where they're just, I'm just going to emotionally punish you because I can, because I have that power. So I
Mhm.
love that they made stakes that I was concerned about and then didn't punch me in the heart. I really loved that. I was like, yes, that is how you do tension in a movie. Well done. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. I am delighted about this. Congratulations. And my lows, I guess, were that there were three stepsisters. Because you really could have just had one. It's not like they were distinct in any way, shape, or form.
We
That
could have had two and it would have been fine.
yeah, it was weird that there were three. You didn't need three. They weren't distinct enough to matter. If they had made them slightly more, normally in Cinderella's we get a tall one, a tall pointy one, and a short fat one, or we get a dark haired one and a light haired one. And in this one, it was just three identical blondes. There are other hair colors, just anything, something to distinguish them. And
I didn't have a hard time distinguishing them, and I did like that there was more than one of them just because they had moments where they interacted with each other, and I thought that was like
Their their
The,
interactions
the
with
third
each
one
other,
shouldn't have. The third one shouldn't have been there.
we didn't need a third one, and I really would have liked it if they had been less caricatures. The stepmother was very much a type,
Hmm.
but she felt less of a caricature because we've all interacted with this woman at one point or another in our life. And she exists, unfortunately. However, the daughters were just caricatures of caricatures. And I thought that it was hard to believe.
I mean, that's basically my main problem with this movie,
Yeah.
is that it didn't quite find the right balance between very realistic and very grounded, which a lot of it was,
Yeah.
and very stylized and fairy tale like, which some parts of it were. And
Yeah.
sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
Yeah. What would you change about this movie?
I would do a better a better job with that balance. Like I would either make everything more realistic, or I would make the more realistic parts of it like, or the more stylized parts of it like more stylized, so that you could like know that it was a choice. So like I wish the prince was weirder. Like I wish he had been more awkward than he was, cuz they sort of set him up as being like a little weird, a little awkward. But like I would have liked it if they pushed the whole he's standing in the shadows and being like a weirdo, and that he proposes to her right away, and that they're both obsessed with horses. Like I wish they had like hit those notes harder.
I really loved that they were both obsessed with horses because so often there's nothing between Cinderella and the prince. It's just love at first sight. It's just you're the most beautiful woman in the room. And I loved that this one had such a strong carrying mechanism of, oh my gosh, you're super into horses too. That's amazing. I really, really liked that through line. It made me really happy.
I also found like the presence of Ahmed really distracting, because it seemed like the prince, like the role of the prince was split between the two of them,
Yeah.
and so neither of them got enough time with Anna for it to like make sense.
I really would have liked it if, yeah, if I could change anything, I would just combine Ahmed and the Prince into a single role.
Yeah.
And he's the lesser known prince. He's the younger son. He doesn't go out in public much, so he wouldn't be a really, visually publicly recognizable character. So it makes sense that he could show up at this rich people farm
He
and
doesn't even have to be a prince. He could just be like,
fancy rich horse dude.
yeah.
Yeah, that would have been really good because he could have gone and shown up and sort of scoped it out and seen Anna there, and then gotten her name from the mailbox thing, and then specifically invited all of them, including her by name. And then it would have made sense that he was like, well, how come she's not with you? I'm so like, oh, I'm happy you came, Anna. I know your name. I'm happy you came.
Yeah,
And it would make
Anna.
sense why he would show her the horses. They should have just combined those two characters.
Yeah, Anna and Ahmed had like a couple of beats together that I thought really should have happened with the prince, because Ahmed was the one that was like inviting her out for a nightcap onto the balcony.
Yeah, it was
And he was the one that was like, this is the son of Isadora, this is Duncan. And he gave her something that she didn't even know she wanted. Like, I
right.
wish the prince had been the one that invited her out for a nightcap and she was bored. And then he's like, do you want to see my horse? And then she was like, oh my God, yeah, I do. And then she finds out that this is the horse that she trained, and the horse like recognizes her. I'm so
Right.
into this. As I'm
Yeah,
like saying this, I'm like, oh, I
absolutely.
wish it that was the movie.
Absolutely. That would have been a fabulous change. Should our listeners watch this? Absolutely.
Yeah, if
I'm
you like Cinderella, which God, I hope you do if you're listening to this.
right. If you don't like Cinderella and you've listened to all of this, why? Why are you doing?
Like
I mean, thanks, but
I'm so concerned.
I'm concerned. Yeah. Um, this is a great Cinderella.
Yes.
I would say also if you're not into Cinderella, but you also just love horses, this is a Cinderella for maybe that friend that loves horses and is not as into fairy tales. This is a good movie for that person.
This
So
was like the Cinderella for the horse girl inside all of us, the gender neutral horse girl.
the horse human. So what would your final grade be for this movie?
Ah, this is so hard. While I was watching this, like the first half or so, I was like, wow, this is great. This is an A. And then we got to the bit with the ball, and I didn't love that. And then we got the stuff with the shoe, and I didn't get that.
Yeah.
And then the subtitles disappeared, and I didn't know what happened to anybody.
Nope.
So I'm gonna give this a C plus
Wow, okay. Okay.
because my enjoyment was really all over the place. I would say it's better than average, but I don't know.
So you had more of a roller coaster than I did.
I had a real roller coaster. So C
Okay.
plus for me. How about you?
I'm giving this one an A minus.
Oh wow, we did really
Yeah, we
different.
had very different experiences because I just loved everything about this. I mean, there were some things that I would change, and there were some things that I thought they did less well, like the balance between realism and fairy tale, and the stepsisters being completely weird. But I thought they did a ton of really creative things. I liked that she went to the party, wasn't really having a good time or fitting in there, didn't take the room by storm.
Hmm.
Because I've always found that to be the most unbelievable part. Just she appears and everything stops, and they all look at her. It doesn't happen.
I
I
like that part. I think that part's cute.
Oh,
Everyone,
it's a fun fairy tale beat, but if you're gonna do a realism movie, it can't happen because it's not a thing that happens. So I love that he was struck by her because she's left the party and gone to play with the horses. I love that. I love the reason that she left her shoes. I love the comeuppance. The shoe trying on scene was a little bit weird. I'll grant you that was strange. I don't know why that had to happen, but I thought it was really great. So yeah, A minus for me. This is going in my top lists somewhere. We're gonna have to start doing lists, for like
oh
best
yeah.
prince, best Cinderella, best chemistry. I like their chemistry. Did you like the
I
chemistry?
didn't think they had any chemistry.
You didn't think they had chemistry? I thought they had
No, I
chemistry.
thought they both liked horses and that was it. I
That's
didn't
that's
get the sense.
chemistry. Have you hung out with horse people? That's all they talk about,
Well, okay, like even when he proposes to her, she's like looking at the horse at first and doesn't even notice that he's proposing.
right? Horse people.
And I just like, I don't know. If it was gonna do a time skip, then it could have had them date first if it's
Eh,
doing realism.
that's fair.
I don't think it knew what it wanted to be, and I
Okay,
didn't like how it was executed.
that's very fair. I still loved it.
Will you do me one final kindness?
Yes.
Will you attempt to say the title of the Cinderella for me and for our listeners?
Okay. I think this movie is pronounced Assepoester in modern Sprookje.
Ah, that sounds so much better than when I did it. Okay. It's almost midnight, so thanks for joining us. If you liked this episode, please leave us a rating or a review. That actually really helps us. We'd love to hear from you, so follow us at CinderPod on Twitter and Instagram, like our Facebook page, or email us at thecinderellapodcast@gmail.com. You can tell us your thoughts, recommend Cinderellas that we can check out next, and tell us if you've watched any of these. If you want bibbity bobbity bonus episodes or to hear us discuss this week's Cinderella again, but with more adult beverages and the ever after party, please support us at patreon.com/cinderpod. Our intro music is Bad Ideas by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. So Liv, what are we watching next week?
Next week, we're watching the absolute Cinderella classic, Ever After. I'm
Ooh.
so excited. I love this movie. Everyone loves this movie. It's one of my favorites. I'm really
I
excited
I
to
don't love
watch
this
it.
movie.
Are you lying?
No.
Are are you lying to me right now?
No, I'm not lying to you. Anyways, tune in for the
What?
resolution to this.
What? What do you
And
mean?
until then, have a happily ever after.
What?